Welcome to another Shield Maidens devlog. Last time I had a great idea to create a menu with a missions board, and following that I had an even bigger idea to create a tile-based map where a player could travel around and find these missions in a big open world. These seemed like great ideas in my head, but I quickly learned that creating the world I imagined would require a few things. Drawing all my own tiles for each of the terrain and buildings, learning and implementing a pathfinding mechanic like A*, actually designing how big this open world's going to be and what it's going to look like, then the idea of having your own settlement on a tile and expanding it, and for the grand finale I wanted to make this open world procedurally generate every time you started a new game like in For the King. Trying to implement a world map introduced a whole bag of jobs I wasn't aware would come with the task. I thought making my character move along the tiles and drawing some cool hex terrain would be my biggest obstacles, but actually, apart from implementing a pathfinding system and having to draw a plethora of tile assets, I also had to figure out how to make the world dynamic so it unlocked areas or changed as you progressed through the missions, and also find a way to design it so that the players knew exactly what they had to do and where to go without wandering off in the opposite direction. At the point of realising the impact scope creep was having on my game, I'd spent a full week learning Unity's tile map system and how to get a player to travel across a hexagonal grid. I had to stop and ask myself, what is this game and how can I build on top of the work I've already done? In the past I've added potions and more NPCs, but now I want to take it further and create a game worth replaying. So let's start on my new idea. This time, pillage mode is the world map. For saving the game, you'll randomly stumble across camps which behave like checkpoints. The shop will no longer be on the main menu. You'll find travelling caravans at campsites instead, and bosses will appear through the world marking your progress, possibly adding an element of story, but we won't go there just yet because, well, scope creep. This sounds much more achievable than my first round of ideas. I've got camp set up so that every few scenes a camp will be spawned, letting you heal up and buy upgrades. Although the real mystery to unfold is how the hell did he get a hold of those ruins in the first place. When you exit the game and come back where you left off, I've used the same beginning area scene, except it'll show a few old objects that you'd expect to see at a camp. One of the reasons I've done this is because this scene has a huge castle that the player can't get over. This was intentional for your own safety. Also leading on from that, any enemies or map areas that you passed a few miles ago will now be removed from the game. This was so that the overall scene didn't get filled with game objects that won't ever be seen or interacted with again. It probably won't make an impact on RAM or performance if you're playing on a decent PC, but if I were to port this to something like a Switch or even a mobile in future, it could save me a headache. On another note, I've updated the archer and knight sprites, spent longer than I should have animating him swing a sword, updating the fire animation finally, and decided to make the knights a bit harder to kill since they're slow but well armoured. In regards to the scenes, I've removed the middle parallax layer. This was to sort the perspective in which we're looking at the road where the player runs along. Alongside this, I've made houses look 3D now too, since we're all about perspective. I've been reading Ed Catmull's Creativity Inc. lately, and in it he explains how the stories written for the big screen Disney animations go through hundreds if not thousands of storyboards as the team is presented them. They'll candidly give feedback, then it's back to the drawing board. To be candid means to be open and honest, but Ed describes it as a feedback system built on empathy, essentially meaning that without ego or being unproductively honest, like saying I don't like that or this thing, his team will try to pinpoint why they didn't like something and then make suggestions on how they think it could be improved, because ultimately all of them wanted this to be a successful film. It's very similar to the iterative process of development. Step 1, get an idea. Step 2, build a prototype. Step 3, test it's worth adding to the scope. Step 4, if it does, build up from there, else, next idea. But sometimes we can be so headstrong or tunnel visioned about an idea that we really want to pursue that we end up blindsiding ourselves from seeing how practical or even how bad it may be. As Ed alludes to, you need to give yourself honest, productive feedback with the intention of creating the best product you can. And as a personal note, I'd try and see it as a learning experience rather than a waste of time if the outcome isn't what you wanted. If I'm to be candid with myself, Shield Maidens has a unique identity that should be scaled upwards rather than sideways. There's so many features that I could just throw into the game, but I want to release it at some point, so I need to be more strict on which features are necessary and will generate the best experience for the players. Finally, don't forget to join the Discord if you want to keep up with Shield Maidens or any of my other projects. You can play the latest version and it would be really helpful to hear some candid feedback from yourselves. But also feel free to just jump into the community and share whatever you're working on too. Thanks for watching and don't forget to like and subscribe.